I'm joined by Alan Murray, who is really well regarded on the internet as far as a subject matter expert in Microsoft Excel. So I'm really excited. Hi, Alan. How you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you, Neil.
Excellent, excellent. So Alan is an Excel trainer, but really where you're going to run into him most often is as an online content creator. If you Google questions about Excel, there's a good chance that computergaga.com will come up as part of your search results because his blogging there hits so many important topics within the Excel space. And over 50,000 people have decided to subscribe to his YouTube channel, which is also called Computer Gaga. So, if 50,000 people do it, you should probably do it too. I know that I did, I don't know, months ago at this point. So thank you again so much for joining us here today, Alan. And in getting ready for today's conversation, Alan and I talked about what could have some impact for everybody. And Alan decided that really one of the best things we could talk about is something that is brand new for a lot of people. Some people have seen this over the last few months, but in the last week, these new dynamic array functions have just hit Excel, and they could change so much about the way we work. It's a very powerful and very timely topic, so I'm really excited to jump right in. Alan, why don't you set the stage for us here? What are dynamic array functions, and who has them today?
Well, thank you for inviting me, Neil.
Absolutely.
And first of all, these dynamic array functions, or the whole engine of dynamic arrays, is very new. I believe it only got made public on Friday, I think, like the official public release. And it's only available to Office 365 subscribers. So if you're not on Office 365, you need to be. We'll put that point out straight away, because a lot of stuff that Microsoft release, not just dynamic arrays, are being intentionally made only for Office 365.
Oh, yeah.
And these dynamic arrays are probably the biggest change or the biggest improvement since Power Query, really. It's probably the way it impacts, and it impacts everybody, because it's going to change the way that we write our formulas, really. No longer having to use that single cell reference, although we still can. And you write your if function and you're testing just one cell. Now we'll be able to select a range of cells, an array of cells. And it's going to make everything dynamic, so we won't be maybe copying our formulas down as much. And we still will be, but it's going to be working with, as your data grows and shrinks and stuff over time, the formulas now will be able to take care of all that.
Yeah, it's very cool. So a couple of quick points there. I will just hammer on this drum until I beat everybody in submission on it. You don't want Office 2016. You don't want Office 2019. Don't buy any static versions of Office. You will be disappointed at some point. And today is one of those times, right? You cannot get dynamic array functions without an Office 365 subscription. You can't update your 2019 purchase or anything like that. So it's unfortunate, it's just the way of the world these days. But what's really cool is that, the Microsoft developers could just be thinking about something in April, and then in June, all of a sudden you have this new powerful tool that changes so much about the way that you work. And if you're keeping track at home, yes, this is yet another person who I didn't have to say anything to, and they said the words Power Query. Power Query, everybody. You need Power Query in your life. If you're not currently using Power Query, go look it up on YouTube. Pause the podcast. Go look up Power Query on YouTube. Do it right now. Okay. So if you're still with us, so first of all, there's about 6 of these functions?
Yeah, 6, yeah.
Okay. So what are some of these functions, and what do they actually do? What's the improvement that they bring for us?
Well, the new functions, we have filter, we have sort by, sequence, rand array, and unique. So they're your
Okay.
picks. And I think for most people, the like arguably the main two are going to be filter and sort.
Hmm.
Which in some ways of thinking about it, it's kind of strange it's taken this long for these to come out. Like maybe because if you think about the stuff that every Excel person does, not necessarily like some advanced person, literally everybody sorts and filters.
Hmm.
So the fact that we've now got formulas that can do it, i.e., they're automated and we can embed them in other formulas, and all the stuff that, as brilliant as they are, the sort and filter features are, the manual labour, and
Hmm.
somebody's got to press that button. They should get VBA to do it. But now we've got formulas that can do it for us, which I mean, it's huge. And for me, the filter function out of all six is a game changer. This
So
function is going to take over, I think.
what's a use case for you on how filter will work? What kind of situation is it going to really change for you?
I mean, it could potentially change a lot. We don't
Hmm.
necessarily have to use it. We've still got our other brilliant functions. But filter, just like the filter feature, it will filter a list. But being a
Hmm.
formula, it's going to put that list somewhere else.
Hmm.
So really, it's got the potential of replacing things like your lookup functions, because that's
Right.
really what it's doing. When you filter, what you're doing is you're looking for stuff like all the sales in Sweden or something, and you filter for it, just like this can. And it's good to look up those. And
Hmm.
it's got the ability to build in conditions if you filter, which things like VLOOKUP and that can't do on its own. Obviously, we can build them in.
Hmm.
It's going to return multiple results, can return multiple columns. Um, it's got everything you need, really. It could potentially replace, well, not replace, but could be used instead of, um, your VLOOKUP, index match, some product, some ifs. All these different functions we use to do different conditional summing or finding things. Filter can do all
Right.
of that. So yeah.
It's really interesting, if you go on, like, I'm on the Excel subreddit because I'm a huge nerd, and it seems like every month or two somebody asks, "Hey, can I VLOOKUP for multiple matches, right? Could I get everything that matches a certain criteria?" And that's just not what VLOOKUP is intended to do, right? It's intended to find an actual match, a single match for something that you're looking for. So the filter function will build you a little table based on whatever the criteria happens to be, which every time that I teach the advanced filter function to people, like, that's what it can do for you. But it feels like using the advanced filter function on the data tab, it's like going back to the Stone Ages. It's like this weird clunky thing with multiple dialog boxes, and you kind of can put it on a separate page, but you kind of can't put it on a separate page, and it's really annoying. So now with the filter function, you could make a filtered list anywhere you want based on any data set you want. It's really incredible that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as you say, it builds that list on a separate sheet or the same sheet, whatever you want, based on any criteria.
What's nice too, you can nest, like, sort and filter together, right? So you can then have whatever your results are sorted by whatever you're looking for, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So especially when you're creating reports or any reason, don't get too caught up in reports. Everybody thinks of that when they think Excel. But for any reason, you're generating some kind of list.
Hmm.
Yes, it can do it, and you can embed it, as you say, in things like sort. So they're automatically sorted in some kind of order, whether it's some kind of date order or A to Z order.
Hmm.
And it's funny. Once again, this wasn't pre-planned, but you brought up advanced filter, and in advanced filter, there's the option of like unique values in it as well. And one of
Hmm.
the new dynamic arrays is a unique function.
Yep.
Once again, that can go in there, and avoid duplication of whatever
Hmm.
company names or whatnot.
Yeah. When I first saw these functions come out, like it was a couple of months ago, it's been out there in the world that these exist, right? Or that they will exist. I was really in this headspace of doing data validation for everything, like, drop down menu, drop down menu, drop down menu, to make sure that whatever it is you're doing your data entry on, you're always sticking with whatever the validated scheme is. And when I saw unique, I threw my hands in the air. I was like, this is what's going to do it for us, right? Because you can take unique, point it at a list of things, and now you have the unique list of everything that's in that column.
Yeah,
It's so incredible.
so great. And going from our like we've been talking about with, I mean, not to make myself sound older than I need to, but advanced filter, as you mentioned, seems a bit clunky because it's been around forever, and we used to use it, or I used to use it anyway. One of its greatest strengths was creating a unique list. And then in 2007, I think it was, Excel got the remove duplicates button. So, oh, brilliant, we can press a button, it takes out duplicates. But it's still manual. Someone's got to press that button.
Yeah.
And maybe copy paste the list or whatever you're doing and then press that button. Whereas now these formulas will do everything. They'll fetch that data, they'll sort it. Unique will remove the duplicates. And it's great, yeah. I mean, to prepare things like drop-down lists, like you say. When data changes, those formulas will run, your drop-down list will update. They're dynamic, so they expand in size.
So two things about that. First, you're absolutely right. And it wasn't something I had thought of until just now, but this very much is in line with what I've been using Power Query for in some situations. Take another list that has everything in it, right? Tons of duplicates and all sorts of mixed up stuff. And then Power Query can take that and then push it somewhere else and filter it and make it just a unique list and whatever you want to do with it. But then there's that process of you take that data, you put it into Power Query, and then Power Query is refreshing it and putting it new onto the page. And you might decide to push a button to refresh the query or something like that. But with these functions, you're getting that same sort of functionality recalculated whenever your spreadsheet recalculates, right? Or just hitting F9 or something like that. So that's a really interesting. It supersedes a lot of the things I've been using Power Query for, I think.
Yeah, the great thing about all this stuff that's coming out is that we have other options now. There's pretty much multiple ways of doing almost anything in Excel now. There's more than one way. And I guess from the perspective of Power Query, people can take whatever route they want. But I guess focusing on the strengths, the dynamic arrays will be your more internal Excel work. Update automatically from another sheet. Whereas Power Query can do the same and more, but can come straight from an external source. You don't have to put the list in Excel and then do formulas. Power Query will just give you the list. Whereas the formulas need it in Excel.
Right.
Which maybe it is, maybe it's not. You've got these two avenues, which are both capable. It depends on it's a case by case basis, or maybe people's general preference.
Now, when I got these, I started to test them out a little bit, kick the tires a little bit. And one of the first things that I did was I was trying to see. So one of the things that you find out about these functions in Excel is, let's say, for instance, the filter function, right? The filter function, you can never be too sure how many items it's going to return in a filter, right? It could be 10, it could be 1,000. I don't really know. So one of the really interesting things about these functions is they're what's called spillable, which means they keep going for as long as they need to go for. And so they can't actually go inside a table. That was one of the things I was testing out. I thought, okay, well, maybe if I make a little table and the first cell of the data is one of these, one of the, like a filter function, for example, I wonder if it can automatically expand the table. It can't, which is a little frustrating. Like I would love it for it to do that, but there's actually a new way of referencing this. So you don't actually need the table references at all. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. Is this the pound sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, tables are still amazing. So I think you've got the best of both worlds now. Tables, when they came out in 2007, they're dynamic, and that's really where your like your raw data is going to be. That should be in
Mhm.
the table. Let's put that out straight away. That should be in the table.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas your dynamic arrays are more your kind of output. And as I say, they won't
Hmm.
be tables. Dynamic arrays is an alternative way of creating this dynamic list.
Hmm.
And instead of referring to a range, let's say it's A2 to A10, you would reference cell A2, and then you'd put this hashtag or this pound sign after it, which indicates that you want the entire array, whether it's 5 rows, 200 rows, who knows, who cares? You're basically saying that all of it, and it will update in time.
Nice.
So there's got to be changes. It's going to take a while for people to get used to this. I'm still making mistakes myself. My formula won't work, and I'll look and think, oh yeah, I didn't do that bit, because it's a completely different way of working with formulas. And if you've done it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's quite it's difficult. You got to get into
Yeah, totally.
habits and remember and change ways of working. But this will happen, and you got to embrace this stuff. It's a huge improvement on how things have been.
Hmm. Yeah. If I can pause here and just say, please listen to what Alan's saying. All of your data should be in tables. All of your data. Like, it's so much easier to work with tables. It's so much easier to reference tables. You can only use tables when you're using Power Query. There's just so many things that tables do automatically. If you don't know what I'm talking about, click on any list of data and hit Insert Table or Control T. It'll turn it into a dynamic named range. Please use that. It's incredibly useful. But now, like you're saying, that makes a lot of sense to me. It was one of those things, like I was trying to roll it around in my head. And now that you're saying, okay, the input, the data is in table format. And if you're using a dynamic array, it'll be for an output. That makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, it's really amazing. It's A2 pound sign. That's the arrangement of it.
Yeah,
Very
so
cool.
A2 in this case being the first cell of that array,
Hmm.
whatever it may be. And these dynamic arrays, it's hard to kind of picture without seeing it, but they only ever are stored in that first cell. So the
Hmm.
old school way of working, of writing whatever, a VLOOKUP, and then filling it down 20 cells. Here we write the formula in one cell. And that will spill, to use their word, into however many
Hmm.
cells it needs to. And that formula is only ever in that one cell. It can only be changed in that one cell. So it also provides an element of protection against it as well.
That's a fantastic point. So often in spreadsheets, the issue is that out of a column of 1,000 calculations, people have gone in and changed a couple of them to just permanent data, right, instead of a calculation. And now, because in these, you just put the calculation in cell A2 or wherever it is, and then the rest of the cells are derived from that calculation. It's a lot easier to troubleshoot. That's an interesting point.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
It's very cool. Yeah, and so just to recap on this, you probably don't want to put anything under one of these functions, right? Like, you don't want to put like another table right underneath that, because who knows how long that's going to be for, right?
For sure, yeah. I mean, it can obviously depend on the formula, but you're right. These dynamic arrays are going to spill, and if there's a object in its way, such as a table, you'll get the spill error,
Hmm.
just saying, look, I don't have enough room.
Yeah.
So I guess you can either create room or move that table.
Definitely.
Whatever the situation is. One thing that's great that it's talking to you, it's giving you the error. It's not just going to
Hmm.
stop at that point and not inform you.
Exactly.
Say, look, I'm not going to work unless you give me room to work.
Yeah. Well, it only makes sense because, if it was trying to return 25 values and it only got to 17 of them, it's not a good practice for it to go, I found 17 and then I stopped, right? It's got to be like, no, dude, you got to go back. Fix this problem. It's everything is broken. Yeah. So, yeah, you'll have to slide things out of the way so that these functions can just fill themselves down and be as long as they need to be. That's very cool. So, before we move on, do you have any use cases for sequence? I haven't seen sequence being used anywhere. What's that do?
Sequence is a tough one when you first see it. There's lots of
Mm-hmm.
information you can find out there because there's loads of interesting uses of it. But as its name implies, it just generates a sequence of numbers, which
Oh, okay.
at first viewing, because I think every Excel person has that first thought when you read it and you think, why the heck would I want that? But then as you kind of read on or have an adventure with it, you see there's quite a few cool uses for it. Creating like index numbers for top 5 or top 10 lists, and
Right. Yeah.
trying to think off the top of my head, the other some people used it to create little calendars, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a few like interesting cases where you see it being used that
Yeah, that
you
makes sense.
wouldn't necessarily think of if you're just reading that textbook. If oh, that's going to be
Yeah.
useful. Whereas
Gotcha.
functions that sort
Yeah.
speak for themselves.
Totally, yeah. So it's more like it's the same, not the same, but it's a very similar thing to what RandArray is doing for us. Like there are some people who are never going to need a random number generator. You're never going to ask for it. There's some people who are never going to say, "Oh yeah, I need a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever it is." But other people, they need a sequence every single day of the week. Some people need random numbers generated every single day of the week. And so RandArray and sequence are very valuable for those things. But yeah, sorting and filtering, those just, I mean, that's a fastball down the middle, to
Yeah.
use an American term. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, like I said, unique for me. Just immediately, it sparked joy for me. Like I can go to any list of things and get a unique set of values. And so, in the same way, if you wanted to do cascading drop downs, right, you could filter by some criteria and then get the unique values of that. So now you have all the zip codes that match a state, or whatever it is. That's a there's so many things you could do
Yeah.
with that. That's so
I mean,
cool.
I don't want to sound like a kind of broken record. They're all great. As a sequence can do amazing things, but filter is it's its own league. Believe you me. Those dependent drop downs or cascading lists,
hmm
which is some of my more popular YouTube videos of stuff I've done on showing
hmm
those kind of
Oh
techniques.
yeah,
But this filter is going to make that so much easier than
yeah.
the way we've kind of got it going in the past. It can also help us create searchable lists and stuff, which is a
hmm
question. The filter function can do that as well.
That's really.
That's the it's just very, very powerful, very special, like a Swiss Army knife if you of a formula.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The discussion about cascading drop downs being one of your most valuable pieces of content, and now, as soon as people get filter and unique and things like that, they'll really be able to do that much quicker, much more easily. It's the same way. One of my most popular YouTube videos of all time was how to use offset to make a dynamic named range,
Yeah,
and then tables came, and I basically said, if you want this video, fine, go for, I guess. But why would anybody invent a dynamic named range with the offset function when you could just make a table out of it?
yeah.
It's just so much easier. And now we have these dynamic ranges based off of these dynamic array functions. They're making it easier and easier every time a new version comes out. It's so nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, they might put us out of business as educators, I guess. But yeah, what are you going to do?
That's good, and it keeps changing. It keeps us
Exactly.
keeps us.
Yeah, as long as the sentiment is, geez, they keep on adding new things. How are we ever supposed to keep on top of this? Stay in business for a long time.
Of course. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to dig directly into these. Between these new array functions and XLOOKUP, there's so many interesting new ways of working in Excel. I really appreciate you coming on and helping us out with those. Do you have any special tips or tricks for the road? Anything you'd like to share with folks?
Well, something we've already covered. If I can repeat myself, you should be using tables.
Yep.
But as another tip, which is kind of on topic to an extent, it's a very basic thing, but something that Excel people should be taking on board, like tables, I think is center across selection. So, all these things we're talking about, whether it's dynamic arrays and tables and all this stuff, one of the most precious things in Excel at a basic level is its structure. And it's so common for people to merge cells, which is not the end of the world, but it certainly inhibits things that we can do because you're breaking up its structure. And a lot of people don't know of the center across selection button hidden in format cells alignment tab, which really should be the way to go. So you get that appearance, that look, but you're not, breaking the columnar structure of your spreadsheet, which we rely on. So that would be my tip.
Awesome. I did not tell Alan to say that. Okay, everybody. I will put infinite videos in the description of this podcast. Please, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you are currently using Merge and Center, or if one of your coworkers is using Merge and Center, you owe it to yourself to learn about center across selection. Merge and Center, like you said, it breaks the structure, right? And so it can be the sticking point that keeps you from being able to leverage so many of these things that need to go across multiple cells. And really just even sorting and filtering breaks down if you don't have all of the cells with perfect integrity. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil.
Thank you so much for your time today, Alan. Once again, everybody, you should follow the lead of 50,000 other human beings on the planet. Let's make it 100,000 by the end of the year. Subscribe to Alan, youtube.com/computergaga. Again, that'll be in the show notes. And if you'd like to reach out to Alan directly, twitter.com/computergaga1, number 1 after the end. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Please let us know if you need anything from us, help@knacktraining.com. And I'll see you next time.